Hell yeah. About time we got a new guest interview.
The homie Ray joins us to discuss multiple sclerosis, healthcare options, and of course, how he keeps his mindset over all the bullshit.
Hello.
Yo, Ray, what is going on? Happy International Skinny Dip Day.
That's one I haven't heard about before, but there's a day for almost everything. There's uh, take your chihuahua to work while wearing an ugly Christmas sweater day, I'm sure.
There is, there's all type of days. Every day when I wake up, I go through the daily celebrations that are everywhere, other countries, all that, and I pick whichever one is the most interesting, and that's what I'm gonna take a shot to and celebrate my day and roll with the whole day. So today, internet International Skinny Dip.
All righty.
Well, Ray, 1,000 thank yous for joining me here today on Mindset Over Bullshit. This is the podcast that I produce, and I'm creating content for wheelchair users. I'm a wheelchair user. I'm severely disabled. I got primary progressive multiple sclerosis, so there's no getting out the wheelchair. Because of that, all the content, all the people that I want to interview, I want them to be wheelchair users or at least adjacent to a wheelchair user.
Well, I personally have used a wheelchair only for a very short period of time, and it's even now not full time. It's only when I'm going out in a place where I don't know how long I'm going to have to be moving around and about. I can walk across the house without any restrictions or assisting devices. But when I go out in public, I just never know exactly how much the event is going to be taxing on me. And my legs don't work really well. Primary the relapsing remitting multiple sclerosis has had significant uh, disease progression, which leads me to believe I may actually be more closely identified with secondary progressive at this point in my process. Um, that being said, I use a cane sometimes. I use hiking poles sometimes. Sometimes it's a rolling walker or it's an electric wheelchair. It really just
Nice.
sort of depends on what the situation is going to be and the temperature and how long I might be expected to be on my feet without a place to sit down.
Yes, I know all about the temperature. I have a lot of I deal with do you have the temperature sensitivities as one of your symptoms?
I
Too hot
do.
or too cold?
Primarily, it's too hot that turns me into jello. Too cold tends to exacerbate the spasticity. So when
Yeah,
it's cold weather, I have to stretch more. I have to do more limbering just to be able to move properly.
that is the same way that I do too. If it's cold, I feel like the spasticity and the spasms are way worse. And if it's hot, I like how you described it earlier. You said if it's hot, you turn into jello. That's exactly what I feel like that's the only time my body just goes limp. Any other time, I'm spastic as hell. But if it's hot, oh man, everything just goes limp. The legs are complete muscle weakness, muscle loss. I can't move the arms. The colors that I'm looking at just suddenly turn super bright. So I no longer see faces. I can see like the color of the shirt you're wearing, but I can no longer see faces, facial features, any of that.
So one other thing that I've found very helpful, which sounds from the MS perspective sort of counterintuitive, is an infrared sauna session. The infrared sauna, especially in the winter, helps with the spasticity, but the lingering tension of the muscles,
Hmm.
even after a spasticity has happened and then sort of passed, that lingering tension does it just doesn't go away immediately, and I have to do a regular session with my massage therapist doing myofascial release and deep tissue treatment. And prior to that, I do the infrared sauna sessions to help kind of loosen everything up so that the massage is more effective. But you can Google anything about sauna plus MS, and most of what you'll find is going to be don't do it because of the heat. But infrared works very differently, at least for me, than
Hmm.
a regular heat session would. The temperatures are much lower, and it works in a way kind of like how a microwave heats from the inside. The infrared sauna has an impact directly on the body without the ambient heat.
Wow. This is something I have never heard of before. I am absolutely interested in this. How often would you do this? Is this something that you can do more than once a week?
Oh, absolutely. If you have a infrared sauna in your home, you could do it daily.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
but the cost on them usually at least about maybe $2,000 for a little one-person infrared sauna to put in your basement or wherever. But you can certainly pay more for them if you want it bigger, or you want more features, things like that. The one that I use is actually at my massage therapist's office, and a 30-minute session with him costs 15 bucks.
Oh,
So
nice.
super cheap, just a thing that no insurance is going to cover, but it's a thing that I find very helpful and worth it to me.
Okay. Okay, I totally get that. Oh, this is some good stuff. Okay, so the infrared sauna session, you can do it daily. And when you say it's 2,000, that 2,000 is to actually buy an infrared sauna machine yourself and have it in your own home?
That's correct. It will need
Oh,
some
wow.
special wiring, so you may need to either find the right place in your house that has the higher capacity electricity already
Yep.
running to it, or hire somebody to sort of retrofit your house to the higher capacity wiring and possibly a different style plug than what you have in your house anywhere else. It might not be the same as like a dryer
Hmm.
or a stove. It might be a different plug configuration that is also high capacity but a different shape. So it
Okay.
is entirely possible you may need to hire a professional to set that up, and potentially based on your physical limitations may need to hire someone to assemble it in your home.
Okay. Okay.
So those
Oh,
two
wow.
things might turn 2000 into 3000.
Okay. But the most important piece is that you believe that it works. For
For me,
you,
it
it has
certainly
worked and
does.
you've seen the benefits. That's the most important thing.
There are studies, if you take your Google searching to another level in terms of being more specific and quote marks and stuff like that to
Hmm.
really narrow down the search. You can get to specific studies related to infrared saunas and comparing those to wet and dry heat saunas for MS patients to really look at what the impact is. And the infrared light, it is believed may have significant health benefits that are a little bit softer, a little bit less pronounced, or less easily identifiable.
Okay.
So there's studies out there, they're just not quite absolutely certain about what the mechanisms of the efficacy are.
Okay. Okay.
Whoa, what the?
Damn that. Where's my gratitude journal?
Damn,
Okay.
Pooh.
Have you ever had physical therapy or occupational therapy?
Absolutely.
What is the
Had
difference between the massage therapy and say the occupational therapy? I'm believing that obviously that you like the massage therapy more.
Yeah, the physical therapy I've done tends to give me exercise techniques and tools
Mm-hmm.
to just continue on my own at home with daily routines. Occupational therapy is kind of like that. It is intended to be, here are the activities that you would like to be doing, and here are some tools to help with those, whether it's uh, a, a change to your mindset, a change to your physical activities. It sort of blends the gap between almost psychology and physical therapy uh, in order to help with your daily life in a way that isn't necessarily just exercise.
Okay. Okay, I get that. You brought up mindset. I am huge into mindset. My blog is called Mindset Over Bullshit. And the reason why I even wanted you on this podcast is because, yo, bro, your mindset, I feel like is very much aligned with mine. We
Yes!
connected on that app called Reddit. And I mean, just from your comments and what you say back and forth, man, I know your mindset is a lot like mine. It's just about getting over the bullshit first, number one.
Absolutely. When I was first diagnosed, there was the concept of, hey, this is a critical diagnosis, your life is over, that kind of negative outlook on things. But really, didn't have that. It was, okay, here's answers for why things that didn't make sense about the function of my body for many years before are kind of making sense now.
Yeah,
And in the meantime, I had gotten into a line of work that allows me to not have to depend on the physical functionality of my body and instead just work on my mind and using stuff like Excel and doing accounting work. And uh, that industry, especially with the impact of COVID, has sort of transformed into being almost entirely remote work for a large portion of the people in the field. And so, remote work plus just working on the strength of my mind and what I can think through means that I have no real expectation that I'll have to go on any kind of permanent disability anytime soon.
nice, nice, nice. I do remote work, work from home. Right now I am a Sears repair. I'm a Sears repair service technician. So if an appliance in your house messes up, the refrigerator, washer, dryer, and you call Sears, the old department store, to have them have a technician come out, you might be speaking to me on the phone, and I'm the one who sets up the repair person to show up. It's a remote job. I appreciate it. I like it because there's not nearly the salesperson there is. I've done health insurance the last 4 years, and there is not nearly the sales pressure. And the sales in that in the healthcare, Medicare, Medicaid, the Affordable Care Act, whatever it is that you're doing, there's always a bunch of sales pressure. You have to have a certain percentage of your calls have to be sales. You're constantly being told how you are being too nice on the phone. You're doing too much customer service. You're being too helpful. You need to focus on making a sale. If they're not going to buy and you cannot convince them to buy, you're supposed to let that person go and move on. And I always get popped for that because when I'm on the phone, I'm not gonna lie to you, right? I'm just talking and yapping. They always tell me that they like to listen to my calls because I do this stuff properly. But man, I do not make a lot of sales. I'm on the phone talking about your kids. We're on the phone talking about mindset or gratitude journals, and we have to come back to the sales repair, come back to what's wrong with your refrigerator. I'm one of those type of guys. I'm not a great
Sure.
salesman. I know I'm not.
I've done telephone customer service, working on cell phone accounts and uh, stuff like that. I've done sales as well, even in health insurance, selling high deductible health plans. I hate sales.
Hmm.
I did route sales with Schwann's for a number of years. I actually quit a healthcare consulting job because it transformed into mostly sales. Uh,
Hmm.
but uh, I currently do a different kind of healthcare consulting for hospitals, working in a space that is sort of like doing tax returns, but for Medicare and Medicaid. And so it's a lot of data crunching, a lot of working in Excel, using formulas that even most Excel users have never really used. So uh, it is a niche specialty, but uh, it is always in demand to the point where uh, I have gotten jobs when I wasn't looking for them at all, where
Hmm.
I have been approached, hey, you're a person in the industry, you look like you have the qualifications. Would you be interested in hearing more about this job? So
Yep, I'm familiar with that.
having work come find me is a huge benefit of being in that industry.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I tell my wife that that is around this time of year because I still got the health license. I'm constantly being approached by work from home Medicare jobs that always say, "Hey, you've been doing Medicare for the last couple of open enrollments. How about we offer you a position making this amount, getting blah blah blah." And that I got one call. It's Saturday, and I got a call this morning at around 9:10 this morning, and it was the same thing out of nowhere. Hey, we see that you have a health license. Would you be interested in coming back for the open enrollment nonstop? And I always end up coming back because it's decent. You can make great pay. I advise wheelchair users, anybody with a chronic illness, if you're looking for a gig, if you get that health insurance license, then you can work from home basically all the time, anytime. But man, that sales pressure, you say you hate sales. I hate sales too. Golly, it's like, what is it? It's like sales is like my arch nemesis of a job. I used to be a school teacher.
Sure.
But,
And at the master's level, after I finished my MBA, I kind of continued on considering doing a master's in education.
mm,
And I took a couple of semesters worth of classes, but I just didn't like it enough. I
I get it.
didn't find the same inspiration as I do in the treasure hunt of sifting through big data to come up with like financial answers to how to do a thing better. And that's what really motivates me in my work is finding the thing that is not clear and not obvious and making it clear and obvious and making it possible for the organization I work with to get more government funding or to cut some costs or things like that, where it has a dollar amount that is identifiable at the end of the day for what my contribution to the company actually was.
Okay.
I found $5 million of additional funding that would be available for the hospital. That's an actual situation from just a few months ago where they didn't file a document in the most optimized way.
Hmm.
And a consulting firm that worked for the company didn't catch the error and actually kind of made it worse. And just before the whole thing was accepted by the government contractor that was doing the reviews, I said, hey, wait, this is wrong. Here's the correct thing. And that roughly $5 million over several years would have
Wow.
been in little tiny percentages of every Medicare payment to the hospital for everything over several years. So
Wow.
that little tiny impact multiplied by hundreds of thousands of medical claims for Medicare patients would have had that 5 million. So it's not like a lump sum, but it's money that would have been lost that I was able to ensure would actually be available to the organization.
Golly, man, I clap it up for you on that. Number one, because you have a career that you have a sincere interest in. I congratulate you on that. I told you I'm doing the Sears thing. I have no interest in this whatsoever. I only get I only get maybe 20 hours a week, but I'm on the schedule for 40. I just have so many accommodations, got to take so many
Sure.
breaks and bathroom stuff. I only really get about 20. But it is awesome that you have actually have a career now that you have a sincere interest in.
It's back. Mindset Over Bullshit Roadhouse is this Friday, July 19th.
Yes!
This Friday, you want to ask every wheelchair user a set of 6 questions. If you don't answer the question, you got to take a sip of whatever it is you're drinking.
Understand? Does your career, the experiences that you have working with Medicare, helping people out with the Medicare, the companies, does that give you insight or help you with your medical claims, anything like that with your health insurance?
Absolutely.
Nice.
Knowing all of the terms in the medical industry, the things like CPT codes and sort of the back end of how claims processing works and what the hospital side of things is, helps me to know what pitfalls to avoid when it comes to my own health insurance and prior authorizations and timing of billing. As a MS patient, one of the main things that I have to look at is the cost of a disease-modifying therapy. In my case, it's Ocrevus, which has a full retail price of ballpark, call it $75,000 per session every 6 months. And then the insurance contractual differs from one company to another.
Yep.
And my latest one was right around 35,000
Yep.
after the contractual adjustment. And then the insurance company does another couple of sleight of hand things depending on your specific plan details. But I'm a big proponent of high deductible plans because they tend to cover better at the high end than they do than other plans do. They don't have the same kind of limits, and many
Yep.
of those limits got eliminated with the Affordable Care Act, but not 100% of them did. In any case, high deductible health plans often have a lower out-of-pocket maximum than what like a PPO or an EPO might. So that means that if you have a $50,000 hospital stay, you might be on the hook for a larger portion of that as a PPO patient than as a high deductible health plan patient. And
Yep.
in addition, with a high deductible health plan, one has the ability to use an HSA, health savings account, in order to reduce taxable income by putting away money, basically paying yourself before paying taxes. So that also means that you can pay out of pocket for things that are medical, but not approvable by insurance. So things like I recently got an electric wheelchair. That was about $2,000. It was one that I did a lot of research on to find battery life, comfort, weight. It separates into 2 pieces so that each one is about 36 pounds. And that is much more manageable than picking up a 60 or 70-pound device when
Yes.
my legs don't work well. That's the whole point of using it. And 65, 70 pounds, that's a lot for somebody who's healthy and not necessarily athletic, but just sort of average. That's a heavy thing. And expecting somebody who has some aspect of disability in their lives to lift that thing is just unreasonable. So
Yep.
having the thing that splits apart is what I needed, and having the thing with a swappable battery is a big plus, so that I can carry an extra just in case I need
Mm-hmm.
to go around longer. I'm going to like a food truck event, and there's a lot of going around, and it's out in the sun, and all kinds of stress issues. I don't want one more thing to add to the stress load.
Yeah.
So the extra battery. So that was
Yeah.
about $2,000 plus about another 500 for the extra battery. And that's the thing that I was able to make the purchase decision on based on cost and benefit, not based on what insurance will approve.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a thing that I'm able to afford because I have a decent paying line of work, and I'm able to make those choices that a lot of people aren't able to make. I'm very thankful for that ability to make the right choice, not the choice that is the best of the bad choices.
Yep. Yep. I totally get what you're saying with that. I currently have Affordable Care Act. I had you were speaking about the high, I wrote down some notes. You were speaking about the high deductible plans. I had something like that when I was working for a company. I was working for AAA insurance.
Mhm.
They gave us the employer sponsored Blue Cross Blue Shield. That was the first time I had true, real deal private insurance healthcare since I've had MS. I found out that I mean, you there's so much. You were speaking about the wheelchairs. The wheelchair that I'm in right now, the company charged Medicare $5,000 for it.
Mhm.
$5,000, and this chair is absolutely horrible. I have a second wheelchair that my parents bought for me to help me get around because this wheelchair is so heavy I can't even take it out the house. Nobody can, it's like over 400 pounds. I only
Oh,
weigh about
goodness.
one yeah, and I only weigh about 175, so I can't even help pick it up or anything. So my parents bought me a light something called the it's called the Rubicon World's Lightest Wheelchair. It's
Okay,
like
I've seen
less
that.
than it's about 15 pounds. It's all like aluminum alloy and stuff like
Sure.
that. It is light, but because of all my disabilities and all my different issues, it is even worse than the bad wheelchair I'm in right now. You were speaking about you said you had gotten a wheelchair yourself, 2000. My first wheelchair my parents ever bought me was it's the best one that I currently have. I have three electrics and I have two or three manuals, and the best one I ever was made by a company called Zinger.
Okay.
And I got that Zinger, and it has the zero turn. You can do the where you kind of have the sticks on both
Yep.
sides. I mean, you're doing that. That wheelchair is so awesome. Oh man, but it's the first one I ever got, and I didn't understand the importance, just how important DME and the wheelchair would be to you. So I used it for everything, and it is so bent up that that it can't even go forward anymore. You actually got to push it or drag it, which is the reason why I'm in these other two. I got the Affordable Care Act, and for the last few months, so I came off Blue Cross Blue Shield. I had the good when you're talking about with the high deductibles with the employer sponsored coverage. I switched companies. I came here. They said they had coverage. They said they had employer insurance. Man, that employer insurance on Reddit, you told me that anything about the insurance, deductibles, co-payments, how awful they can be. That's how they did me with this job. I had coverage with Blue Cross Blue Shield. It was freaking awesome. They were paying for the Botox. The Botox is they charge insurance $40,000 for Botox. They paid for Ocrevus last year. You were speaking about the Ocrevus at seventy
Yep.
thousand per every 6 months. Did you know that the average primary progressive multiple sclerosis patient is worth $1.5 million in
Whoa.
yearly
What the?
deductibles and co-payments and stuff like that? $1.5 million. I am I'm at 1.1. Even now, the wheelchair I'm supposed to, they're working on me. I just got approved. I just got reapproved. Blue Cross pay for the. They were going to pay for the wheelchair. They're going to pay for the Ocrevus. Affordable Care Act pays for none of this stuff. So I went. I've gone 3 months without the Ocrevus, which the doctor believes is the reason why I'm going through a severe MS flare up. Like my lesions and everything have grown in size and number, all type of stuff. So now Affordable Care Act is, because of all the stuff now, Affordable Care Act is paying for the Ocrevus. They're going to pay for the special wheelchair I need. The wheelchair I need is it's between $25,000 and $40,000.
Goodness.
And they were out here, yeah, they were out here this week to measure me and get all the stuff for it. And the wheelchair the Affordable Care Act is going to pay for is 25,000. The difference is that the doctor recommends I get the wheelchair that can stand you up and everything. That stuff, if a wheelchair can stand you up, just that component, just that piece by itself is $15,000. And so Affordable Care Act said, hey, if you want to be stood up in your wheelchair, you got to pay that 15 by yourself. But we got this 25,000 we'll take for you. So I had to go and say yes to that. Hurry up and say yes to that. 20 a wheelchair? Yes. And it takes 3 to 4 months to build it.
There was a episode of Mark Rober's YouTube channel that looked at a wheelchair that he basically helped design for a kid who he got really excited about his attitude,
Mm-hmm.
and it climbs stairs. Uh,
Wow.
it
God.
does all these. It does the zero turn. It climbs stairs. He added some fun things, some other bells and whistles. He worked with a wheelchair company to help design it, but it is a thing to really watch the video on. It's entertaining and sort of heartwarming at the same time.
Yeah, I would like to check that out. I've seen in Japan the wheelchairs that go up the stairs and they look so it looks like the very first it looks like, as a kid, I grew up watching Transformers, GoBots, stuff like that.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And GoBots to me were always like a lesser version of Transformers. That's
Right.
what the wheelchairs that I've seen going up the stairs look like. They they look like the big clanky GoBot cartoons. They used to do stuff like that, and the real Transformers come along, and the whole change was a lot smoother and a lot better. But man, those GoBots, whew, those things were different. They were new. They were new. They were very, very new. Do you have any tips that you would offer an MS or a wheelchair user in dealing with insurance? Anything to look out
Vigilance.
for?
I
Okay.
take the attitude of basically trust but verify. Check every claim. Check every anticipated expense that is going to come up that that you can plan for. Things like you've got an Ocrevus infusion coming up in a couple of weeks or a month or something. Make sure that the prior authorization is in place, that the office has contacted the insurance to get all the approvals done so that there's not a surprise after the fact where, oh, yeah, we would cover it, but we don't because it wasn't authorized in advance.
Yeah.
Things like that. There's a lot that you can do just as an active participant in the payment of the healthcare. Maybe it's not technically your job. Maybe it's technically the physician's office's job, but they don't have a downside. They still go to work the next day. But
Hmm.
if your thing isn't properly set up to be paid, then that does not work well for you as a patient. So trust but verify, make sure all the things are in place, make sure that when you see the payment in process, you continue to monitor to see how it's being done,
Yep.
because sometimes it requires stepping in again after the fact. I had a situation where I set up my Occupational infusions to be the very first thing that hits insurance in the plan year, so that the manufacturer's copay assistance plan will pay my deductible and out-of-pocket maximum for me. That's a thing that is not fully protected in every state. There are some
Sure
states
isn't.
that do protect that and ban copay accumulators or copay maximizer programs.
Real quick on that part right there, when they help you with the co-payment assistance, does that count towards your out-of-pocket deductible?
That's actually what I was getting to.
Okay.
It does for me. It does for
Wow. Nice.
people in 19 states, including yours. Uh, Surprisingly, Texas did pass a law to ban the use of copay accumulators, but not every state has done that. And so what has happened is people get told, yeah, that would have gone against your deductible, but somebody else paid it. So we're
Yep.
still going to count your other things as requiring you to pay for them, even though this is a thing that said, hey, this is part of your deductible. And so when it was paid by this third party, the copay assistance plan, that made that null and void. So you didn't count as actually having met your deductible yet.
Yeah.
That's a situation that happens in many states. And there was a federal case in DC last year in September that said that is not allowable for anything where it is a brand name prescription drug for which there is no generic or biosimilar available. So things like Ocrevus, Tisabri, Kesimpta, all of those are under patent. They are brand name. There is no exact alternative available, and therefore this DC federal court case addressed that and said no state can allow copay accumulators for those brand name drugs where there's not an equivalent available. And so, in theory, that court case sets the precedent that means that copay accumulators won't apply for anyone in any state for things like Ocrevus, but insurance companies will still try to get away with that.
Yep.
And they will say, oh, but the copay accumulator says you didn't meet your deductible. Things like that. I was talking to somebody in New Jersey a few days ago about that. New Jersey is not one of the 19 states that has a law against copay accumulators. And so their insurance company was actually telling them that their copay assistance plan would mean that they have not met their deductible for doing stuff like their regular Kesimpta.
Mm-hmm.
But I brought up the court case and brought up other ways that they can kind of get around that, including using an aspect of the copay assistance program that makes it more or less invisible to an insurance company. The insurance company looks at claims data and the machine readable files where they see a claim in process will show a primary payer, a secondary payer, the amounts involved, the patient
Mm-hmm.
demographic information, and those get sent between the computer system at the hospital and the computer system at the insurance company. There's some back and forth there that tracks all of the details of what's being done on the claim as it's active. So it goes both ways, the machine readable files, and the insurance company knows if there was a second insurance company. And so a prescription drug plan from another insurance company or a copay assistance program that looks like a prescription drug plan with like the RX bin and the group number and stuff like that will look like a secondary insurance and therefore not count as a deductible amount. It'll count as, oh, this was paid by somebody else.
Yeah.
But if the copay assistance plan uses something like the Occupational card, where they do the insurance plan part to get approval, but they don't issue a payment there, what they do is basically load funds onto a debit card, and that debit card payment looks like a patient payment. It just shows as an amount paid by MasterCard, not processed the same way an insurance payment would be. So that makes it invisible. It looks just like a patient payment. So the Ocrevus and Kesimpta copay assistance plans work using that method. It's also possible in some cases for some copay assistance plans to use something kind of like a mail-in rebate where you submit the claim information and they send you a check. So that makes it invisible also. So there's workarounds that are known in the industry if you do your own diligence as an active patient involved in not just receiving care and receiving the correct care, but also getting it paid for properly.
Yeah. Yeah. I did earlier this year from January until only 3 months, from January until March, I was a prescription. I worked for the prescription. I worked for the drugstores. And what I did was when patients insurance had insurance problems in it, then the drugstores, the Walgreens, the CVS, the mom and pop drugstores had to call into a number to find out about the insurance numbers or what was being paid for or the co-payments like you're talking about.
Sure.
I used to hate that having to I used to absolutely hate people going through everything from cancer to multiple sclerosis, fibromyalgia, all type of serious issues. And I'm having to tell them, well, you didn't actually meet your out-of-pocket maximum. It is true it's 2,000, but because you got assistance on those medications, none of that goes towards your out-of-pocket. And people just go,
exactly.
What? I can't believe that. What? This is not what are you? Look, I am very sorry. I'm a work from home employee. I don't set the rules. All I can do is tell you what these are. Yeah, those are always really, really hard talks. Really, really hard talks.
I know who needs to hear this.
Who?
So I'm just gonna say it.
Say what?
Damn that wheelchair. You have a nice ass.
Talks.
And that brings me to another concept, which is not well known, even in communities like the MS community of patients on Reddit or in other places. And that is the vertical integration of specialty pharmacies with health insurance companies.
Oh, wow.
The specialty pharmacy industry is over $500 billion a year in the US.
Well, I believe it. I believe
and
it.
that is essentially double the pharmacy revenues of non-specialty pharmacies.
Jesus.
And it gets better or worse, depending on how you look at it. The specialty pharmacy niche is dominated by essentially the top 5 companies in that field, almost all of which are vertically integrated with health insurance companies. CVS owns Aetna. So CVS Specialty Pharmacy has vertical integration with Aetna. So Aetna is going to try to railroad you into using CVS Specialty Pharmacy to supply your Ocrevus.
Oh
They're paying
wow.
themselves. That
Golly.
same thing is true all the way across the board. Every top insurance company has their fingers in that specialty pharmacy pie, and they are going to want to keep you in-house so that when they're paying for an expensive drug, they're paying themselves.
Mm, golly. The rich get richer. Golly, the rich
Absolutely.
get richer. Okay. On Reddit, you were telling me how you had just finished up one of these Star Wars books, and I recommended Rage of Dragons. That audiobook takes my mind all the way out of the multiple sclerosis, the symptoms, the pressure sores. As long as I'm jamming a good audiobook, I feel like I can get through a lot. It's almost like great music. If the audiobook is interesting, and we spoke about the narrators, and the narrator is the proper narrator for whatever is being done with the audiobook, oh man, it is awesome. Have you decided to check out Rage of Dragons? And are there any books you would recommend to other MSs just to get their mind away from all of this?
I added Rage of Dragons to my wish list so that I have it bookmarked to get next time there's like a uh, Audible special. Hey, buy two things, get a
Hmm.
extra credit or something like that.
I got
But
Audible too.
just sort of have things camped out in my wish list so that I don't have to search for them when there's a promo that comes up. So I added it there. As far as things that I would recommend, there's one particular author in the Star Wars niche of books that I really, really enjoy
Okay.
his work. He is known for uh, being a very, very prolific author in the Star Wars space, but he also does some other sci-fi fantasy work. Timothy Zahn. Specifically, there is one character that author has identified as being his most inspiring, most difficult to write, but most rewarding character to have written, and that is Mithron Euroto, also known as Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Ooh,
He is kind of a bad guy
yeah.
in the story, but he's a really effective bad guy. And he's not what you might think of as inherently evil in the whole black and white, good and bad spectrum. He is uh, just existing. He follows the path of functionality and expediency. It's not really about evil. He's just really effective, and he
Mm.
uh, aligns with the Empire just because that's who he uh, came in contact with. But he favors order and tactics and a formulaic response. And he looks at a people's artwork to understand how their mindset works
Oh
so that
wow.
he can master them with intellect more than power, so that he can think outside the box and outthink his opponents more than just outfight them. And so that makes him a much more interesting character to follow than a lot of the stock Star Wars characters. And he has some fantastic quotes, like about a true warrior's spirit. Let me find one here real quick.
Yeah, I want
But
to hear this.
uh, he's a way more interesting character than a lot of them. Uh, One must never dwell on failure. When defeat has come, a true warrior accepts it, learns from it, and continues on.
Okay, yeah. I like that. I
And
like
that's
that.
the same kind of spirit that you've been talking about, and I've been talking about. A warrior may retreat, he does not flee. He may lie in ambush, he does not hide. He may experience victory or defeat. He does not cease to serve.
I gotta write some of this down. I like that.
There are things in the universe that are simply and purely evil. A warrior does not seek to understand them or to compromise with them. He seeks only to obliterate them.
Oh, that's cool as hell. I like that. Oh man.
So it's a very, very different mindset than a lot of the good versus evil parts of IP like Star Wars or things like that, where you have that concept of how the universe works, but this guy is very different from that. It's not just uh, good versus evil, Jedi versus Sith, uh, fancy swords and stuff, and things that kind of read like magic. But his is just about tactics and strategy and mindset and prior planning and all of the things that really reflect into how I view life in general. And this author, Timothy Zahn, has at least a dozen, maybe more books that are sort of centered around Thrawn's story. And so I definitely recommend them. And the narrator that does most of those books is Mark Thompson, which is one of the names that I mentioned the other day
Yep.
with you, who has a gob of voice acting credits on IMDb under other genres like Pokemon and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
Cool.
and all kinds of stuff like that, where he's really well established as a voice actor, and he brings that experience in to make the book much more interesting with tone and inflection and different voices for each character so that you can more easily follow along who's saying what as you go through the book. So really an enjoyable listen.
Nice. I super duper appreciate those the tips on those narrators. I have a brother who is huge into narrators and audiobooks and has to have the right narrator. I cannot wait to bring these names up to him and blow his mind and make him think, oh my gosh, where did you learn this from? Who taught you this? This is gonna be, yeah. I can't wait to get in with that. Especially Mark Thompson was the second name. The first guy you said had passed away.
Yeah, Roy Dotrice.
Roy
He
Trees,
has done some acting on stage and screen, but he's also got the world record for the most voices, distinct character voices in an audiobook with the George R. R. Martin series, A Song of Ice and Fire. I think it was over 220 distinct voices in one book.
Wow.
So
Golly.
very, very entertaining because each character sounds a little bit different and doesn't just sound like one person saying the whole thing. So Roy
That's huge.
Dotrice, I think he died in 2017 or thereabouts, but he's got some great stuff out there too.
Okay. Okay. Cool beans. I'm digging it.
Wait, did you ever stop drinking last night? You were by yourself.
If you don't stop drinking, you never have to worry about a hangover.
Okay, here goes the last question, and I'm gonna get ready to let you go. I talk a lot about gratitude, the difference between being grateful and showing gratitude. And I teach people that being grateful means you list off what you're grateful for. You have a job, a house, kids, the sun, the shining, whatever it is. You are list off what you're grateful for. When you show gratitude, it means you actually write out or you tell somebody the story of why you are grateful. So an example would be, yes, I'm grateful I have vodka. Yes, I'm grateful I have Red Bull. But my gratitude is that I found a Red Bull in the refrigerator that my wife left a week or two ago, already cold. So because of that, I was able to make the last Red Bull and vodka drink in the house, and this has gone marvelous with one of the muscle relaxers that I had to take today. I took some Flexeril, and with the alcohol, that is a super duper painkiller for the lower back issues.
Sure.
I have multiple lesions on every single vertebrae in my spine. All 33 have lesions. The doctor stopped counting at over 55 on the brain. So, man, I cannot say it enough. Finding that Red Bull and making a drink this morning just took a whole nother level to self-care Saturday. Put me in a better mood. I was able to relax a whole lot. I got in the shower because whenever I'm drinking vodka, and I know it sounds terrible. You shouldn't drink alcohol if you are disabled as I am because you're going to fall more, which is true. But there is a fine line that you can
Sure.
tiptoe because, of course, drinking alcohol means it is already a painkiller, and drinking alcohol disrupts the brain patterns. So whenever you're struggling with your MS and the spasticity and the spasms and moving and things like that, a little bit of alcohol can sometimes actually help that movement out. You're not overthinking what to do. You're not slipping as much because you are tiptoeing that line. Now, of course, you go over the line. Now you absolutely follow. Now you put yourself in a terrible spot. So that would be my gratitude today. Finding a Red Bull to make a drink. And just explain why the drink was so important. Is there a story of gratitude that you can share with the audience today? Something that you are grateful for and why Ray is so grateful for it.
Well, that brings up another thing that a friend of mine taught me many years ago, the concept of a present to your future self.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The context was that I was having a big birthday party. There's going to be a lot of drinking, a lot of other stuff going on. And so, in preparation for that, I mixed up a gallon of kamikazes because I knew that when I was going to be drunk, I wasn't going to be able to mix and measure very well. So, it would
Mm-hmm.
be better to have it mixed up in advance. But I did other things too, like I would wash and pluck an entire package of grapes and then put them in the freezer so that I knew in advance when I was uh, completely altered and kind of stumbly, I
Mm-hmm.
was going to be able to go to the freezer and get a refreshing thing that only could happen with prior planning. So it's a present to your future self when you do a thing like you wash and pluck the grapes and put them in the freezer. So you have this little bite sized popsicle you put in your mouth as a refresher thing later. And so that kind of action with gratefulness sounds like the gratitude situation that you're talking about, where it's an
Yes, it is.
action. It is knowing that you are serving yourself in the future. You are doing a thing to give yourself a present later.
Awesome. Oh, snap. That's a hell of a tip. I love that one. Give to the future self. That's a hell of a quote. I love the action of it. And then, of course, just I've never thought about frozen grapes as a treat. And I can see if you've been full a little bit, you don't want anything too heavy whenever you're drinking. You want something kind of like a light snack. I can see that being that would be a perfect healthy light snack. Oh wow, that's a thousand thank yous for that one, Ray. A thousand thank yous for that. I sincerely appreciate your time here today, Ray. We're going to get ready to shut it down, let everybody go. Is there anything else that you want to share or tell the audience before we end this episode?
You asked a little bit earlier about what inspires you,
Hmm.
and that has to do with excellence in the field. There's one person in particular that I find very inspiring, and that's Megan Rapinoe, uh, soccer or football
Soccer.
star.
Yep. Women's
Uh,
soccer. I knew it.
and she is the only person alive who has ever scored an Olympico goal at the Olympics. An
What?
Olympico goal is a kick from corner, which is kind of a penalty kick,
Hmm.
uh, corner kick that made it directly into the goal without being touched at all. So if you think of the physics of it, it has to come away from the line and then go back. So it has to hook into the goal. So it's a difficult kick to begin with. But also, a corner kick is usually hit by at least one player along the way. They kick it, they headbutt it into the goal, it bounces off somebody's chest, things like that. So it's very unusual for an Olympico goal to happen at all. And it has never happened in the Olympics except by Megan Rapinoe.
I'm a loop. I got to YouTube that whole kick. Man, I got to YouTube that whole kick. Ray, I feel like you and I must have known each other in a former lifetime. We have a lot of stuff aligned, a lot of stuff aligned. I sincerely appreciate your time here, Ray. I want to wish you a happy International Skinny Dip Day, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of this self-care Saturday, man. 1,000 thank yous. I'm gonna have to
Thank
bring
you.
you back if it's okay. I gotta bring you back.
Absolutely.
Enjoy your day, Ray. Thank you.
You too.